Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Hunter Newbold and I create content for DFS and sports betting individuals who are looking to improve their game and who are looking to increase their knowledge in this space and how to be dominant in daily fantasy sports contests. Right now I cover NFL. I also cover PGA and NBA. I do not cover MLB, but there are plenty of very talented people who do. I am not very good at MLB DFS, but I have found success in these other sports, and that is why I am bringing this content to you. This video, the intent of this video is to introduce our Sim model, which has been built to be used in conjunction with projected ownership to help provide a clear picture of GPP plays for these sports on a daily and weekly basis. As I grow this community, there will be PGA and NBA available on my Patreon page. Link is in the description for NFL, which is available at this time. And there will eventually be an all sports tier as well, where patrons can have access to all of the content for all of the sports. The Sim model, we have tiered rankings, we have tournament plays, and we have a Discord chat room where we can bounce plays off of each other, bounce strategy off of each other, etc. So let's jump in and show you a little bit about this Sim model. And if you like what you see, please do hit the like button and the subscribe bell. It really does help. And the goal here really is to build a community of individuals who love DFS, who want to help each other be better. There's full transparency here. I don't hold anything back. Your lineups will probably look pretty similar to mine if you use my tools. I'm not keeping anything in my back pocket from you. I want to build this community to be a force in this industry and to get that money. So let's jump into the simulator and look at some of the top plays for tournaments for week 2 of the NFL season. So with this being our first video and me introducing my Patreon page to you in the link down below in the description, I want to show you a little bit about what you're going to get as far as our Sim model here. So we got our quarterbacks here, and we ran 500 simulations, and we are measuring how many times in 500 simulations each of these guys hits 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times their salary value. Green is the top 33%, white is kind of the middle of the pack, and the red is bottom third. So if we're looking for some of the sleeper guys here, we don't quite have ownership yet, but we'll have that out here in the next day or two. Carson Wentz, mentioned Jalen Hurts, both relatively cheap plays here, with upside this week. Tua Tagovailoa, I would imagine him being a little bit of a lower owned guy, and it looks like he grades out as the third option to hit 5x of his salary at 5,500 there on DK. And so keep an eye on those guys. Some of the studs. Let's see if we can find a stud here to show you. They're not going to be up in these numbers as much because hitting 5 times of 7,200. That's a big week, and in our simulations he does get there a small percentage of the time, but a lot of the times Josh Allen's going 4 times his price, almost a third of the time. Kyler Murray, not quite as good this week, but he is expensive. I'd still pair him with Hopkins and Kirk in those tournaments. That's going to provide some pretty insane upside. Running backs. Let's see here. Kamara, like I said. Chase Edmonds, definitely worth a look given what the Cardinals are going to do to the Vikings this week. Eckler's a little sketchy to be not 100%, but definitely worth a look. Chris Carson, same thing. Seahawks are going to put up some pretty crazy numbers this week. Receivers. Let's look at some of the guys that we mentioned earlier. So before we get into that, Cole Beasley's somebody that saw a massive target share last week, very cheap, but probably going to get quite a bit of ownership. I don't love rostering a wide receiver chalk, but somebody to look at. I don't think you can completely fade him. I won't have a ton though. Jamar Chase coming off the huge week. He's still too cheap. Still way too cheap. DeAndre Hopkins, pretty big number here to go 2x on his salary. You'll see with wide receivers, it's a little more rare for them to have these numbers over here, just the volatility of the position. But you will see quite a bit of in the 4x. You'll notice with wide receivers, these numbers are a little bit bigger in the 4x section because of the volatility. In these simulations, their standard deviations are bigger, so they're going to see bigger spikes in huge weeks versus hardly anything at all, because just whether or not they're getting the targets or not. And then tight end. I didn't talk a ton about tight end, but it looks like Kyle Pitts, Eric Ebron, Chris Herndon, Noah Fant. Noah Fant's got a good matchup this week. The way that this is really intended to be used is once we get ownership, this sim model compared with or used in conjunction with ownership will paint a pretty clear picture of who the leverage plays are, who the good tournament plays are. And I'll have another video coming out very shortly explaining how ownership is one of the biggest misconceptions or least understood. I'll have a video coming out shortly about how ownership is one of the least understood concepts in DFS, and how this simulator really provides some leverage once we have the ownership to take a look at somebody like Jack Doyle, who's got 37%, for example, and say he's 10% owned. We can look at the difference there, the discrepancy, compare him with other people up here, see what the profitability of rostering these guys are. And that's really what we're trying to help people understand, is that projections are important in creating something like this, but projections as a whole, mean projections, are overvalued in the industry. And they take away from being able to just focus in on, okay, how are we going to get different but still be profitable here? Roster guys with upside. Roster guys who, given their ownership, can help skyrocket our lineup up those leaderboards. So thank you very much for tuning in. Please check out... So thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps. And hope to see you in the next video.